ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति। Yeah. We'll take up the clarifications. First clarification. The statement, it appears like you are the master and the other is the slave. Very soon the roles gets reversed. Please explain what does it appears like you are the master and the other is the slave mean? How I am the master and the other the slave first for the roles to get reversed later? Answering the first clarification. The desires always makes the human being believe that it is well under control. It can be managed at any point of time. It doesn't produce any difficulty at all. So the other here is referred to the likes and dislikes, the desires. So it appears like you are the master and the desire is your slave. Meaning, anytime you can drop it and get out. Like people say, I'm not really desired and all, sir, I can manage easily without it. When they say that I can easily manage without it itself is an indication that they have become the slave. If you become, if it is straight away making you the slave, nobody will pick up desires, likes and dislikes. The very fact that a human being is picking up likes and dislikes means it appears to be serving that person first. It appears as though it is serving you, helping you. You pick it up. Over a period of time, we realize that no. It was an appearance that I am the master and desires are my slave. Slave means if you say get up, it will get up. Sit down. That is slave. In relation to the desires, people think they have that kind of a control over desires. For which the crisis all this was discussed in the context of the present crisis. There we said it is not like that. It appears to be like it appears as though you are the master, but ultimately what is it that is causing the problem? The desire. Meaning, desire say get up, I get up. Desire say sit down, I sit down. Desire say go, I'll go. Desire say don't go, I don't go. So in that sense, the desire is the master and I become the slave. Even though in the beginning it appears to be like I am the master and desires are under my control. It always appears in the beginning like that. You follow what I'm saying? Desires straight away doesn't seem to control you. At the first stage, it looks like you are always in. It makes you to believe that you are in control. In that belief that you are in control, you will indiscriminately, that belief that it is under your control, you will indiscriminately promote it. In that indiscriminate promotion, the roles get reversed. You follow? That's what I said. Looks like you are the master and the other means the desires. Other is a slave. Over a period of time, it reverses. The other can be a human being also to which you are attached. In the beginning, it looks like you are not dependent and the other is dependent. Over a period of time only, you will come to realize that you are dependent and the other is not even bothering about it. Isn't it? That is true. In that case also it is true. In the beginning, you believe that you are not dependent and the other is dependent. Over a period of time, you come to realize that it's not the other is dependent, you are dependent, and the other doesn't even care. The other doesn't even bother. This is what is meant by that state. Is it okay? The second clarification. Individual believes happiness is in the form of wealth, object, health, relationship, emotions, knowledge. And the Shastra says they are mere tools to happiness. So what's the exact definition of happiness? Again, the question. Individual believes happiness is in the form of wealth, object, health, relationship, emotions, knowledge. And Shastra says they are mere tools to happiness. So what is the exact definition of happiness? First thing, Shastra didn't say they are tools to happiness. They said you can make use of it, but happiness is not residing in that. The statement that Shastra says they are mere tools of happiness, Shastra didn't say it is tools for happiness. It says you can make use of it, but happiness is not connected to that. Happiness is never connected to all this. When we say tools for happiness means through that you can get, no. It didn't say tools. Human being misunderstood it as if I have it, I'll be happy. It is a misunderstanding of the human being, which is ignorance. So the Shastras always comes and says it is not that they are the tool for happiness. The human being misunderstood them to be tools for happiness. Dukkha yonaya, Bhagavad Gita, is said very clearly. They are wombs of sorrow. It's very clearly established in Bhagavad Gita that they are wombs of sorrow. Wombs of sorrow means it appears to be very good now, but in the long run, in the real situation, it is going to produce only sorrow. So, Shastra didn't say it is tools for happiness. That has to be very clear first. Second, what is the definition for happiness? Definition for happiness is when the agitated mind becomes calm, that state is called happiness. First, there is an agitation, a disturbance, and something I get that brings the agitations down. So that agitation, reduction of agitations is what is called as happiness in the relative sense. In the absolute sense, it is not that you are going to become happy, you are happy already. So in the absolute sense, happiness is the swabhava. Happiness is the original nature. But whenever we talk about happiness in the relative state only, in the relative sense. The relative sense, the definition of happiness is cessation of agitations. When agitations reduces, that reduction of agitations is called as happiness. Not having it is disturbing. Not having it is agitating. Then you get it, what happens? The agitations ceases. That cessation of agitations is happiness. I don't have it, I'm unhappy about not having it. Something I want, I don't have. Agitated. Something I want, I don't have. One kind of agitation. Another kind of agitation is something I don't want, but I'm having it. Are you able to follow? Second is I don't want something, but I'm having it. So either way, whether you want something or getting rid of something, it is always related to the agitated state, the mental agitations coming down. So what is the definition of happiness? Cessation of agitations. Are you able to follow? Again, I repeat. I want something, I don't have it. I'm agitated. I don't want it, but I'm stuck with it. I want to get rid of it. So not having something is agitations. Having something is agitations. So either way, what is happiness? The agitations reduces. To whatever extent the agitation is reduced, to that extent you feel a relief. That relief is called happiness. If we thank God it's over, you will say, or thank God I got it. In some cases, you will say, thank God I got it. In some cases, you will say, thank God it went away, isn't it? Thank God it went away 10,000 kilometers on the other side. She is not saying that. I'm just saying. Yes, she will not say that. I'm saying. You follow? So, not having it is causing agitations. Having something that I don't want will cause agitations. So, either way, definition of happiness is cessation of agitations. And we use it in the relative sense only. In the absolute sense, we use the word bliss, ananda. Is it okay? The third one. If knowledge means seeing things as it is, then why the paradox? What you see is what it is, appears to contradict. Again, the question. If knowledge means seeing things as it is, then why the paradox? What you see is what it is. There is a contradiction. That's the question. Knowledge means seeing things as it is. Paradox is what you see is not what it is. What is the difference? What is the difference? Knowledge is not natural. It has to be sought. Are you able to understand the difference? Knowledge is not natural. Knowledge means that which has to be sought, that which has to be inquired, that which has to be understood, and then you see it as it is. Are you able to follow? Is knowledge natural in any field? Is knowledge of driving natural? Is knowledge of cooking natural? Is knowledge of mathematics natural? In any field, knowledge means it has to be. Knowledge means you have to seek it. You have to seek it. You have to go through a method, a process, and then only comes understanding. Why do we say what you see is not what it is? In the technical language, it is called pratyaksha pramanam. If pratyaksha pramanam is the reality, if pratyaksha pramanam is taking what you see is what it is called pratyaksha pramanam. I am seeing it, that's what it is. Are you able to follow? If what I see is what it is, you see the world as real. Pratyaksha Pramanam says the world is real. Supposing I hit my head against the wall, it is paining. It is real. The Pratyaksha Pramanam says it is real. Knowledge says what you see is not what it is. There is no contradiction. Are you able to follow? What you see is what it is. You are not seeing. You need to acquire knowledge to see it properly. Without acquiring knowledge, whatsoever you see is not what it is. When we are talking about the paradoxes of life, what are we trying to say in that paradox? When we talk about intellect, intellect is to help us resolve the paradox. What are the paradoxes of life? Sense objects gives instant happiness. Does it produce sorrow? Are you able to follow are you able to follow? Sense contact produces happiness. Pratyaksha, it says there is happiness in it. What are you talking? What is Vedanta talking? What is Shastra talking? There is happiness. What is the problem? Are you able to follow? If you take it as knowledge, what will be your conclusion? What you see is what it is. What you see is sense objects. Sense contacts is giving you happiness. If you take that as right knowledge, what will happen? You will continue to indulge. Correct? When you continue to indulge, if there is happiness in it, more indulgence means more happiness you should get. Able to follow? But then what happens? When you indulge, what is happening? The happiness is reducing. Not only the happiness is reducing, it is causing diametrically opposite result of pain and suffering. Therefore, the knowledge says you cannot, without inquiry, you cannot see it. Therefore, through knowledge, seeing it what it is. You are just using, you are getting confused because of the words as it is. Because the same words is used in both the areas, you are missing the concept. That's why you are getting confused. What is the concept here? Pratyaksha means no effort is made. Do you do any inquiry in Pratyaksha? In knowledge, there is inquiry effort. How can both be the same? Because same words are used, you are saying both are same. Both are not same. Are you able to follow? Knowledge means it is sought. Indulgences means it comes naturally. Knowledge says if it is coming naturally, it is a problem. Are you able to follow? If it is coming naturally means it's a problem. It's not real. Are you able to follow? Anything else we have? Is it okay? The third clarification? That's all we have. We are moving on to the new chapter, chapter 6, middle path. Yeah, we are starting with middle path now, isn't it? Middle path is the difficult path. That's all. Middle path is the most difficult path. Vijay. Looks like very easy. But middle path is the most difficult path because the extremes are natural. The extreme paths are always natural. Extreme path means you will drop one and go to the other extreme and hold on to the other. So whenever we talk about middle path, we give the Buddha's life history. He was the prince enjoying the indulgences. One day he decided to drop the indulgences. What he took up to? If indulgences was in extreme, he moved on to the other extreme. Austerity is in extreme. So indulgences in extreme, a person who's indulging in extremity will move naturally to the other extreme. What is the other extreme? The indulging in austerity. It doesn't really matter whether it is indulgence or austerity. Sorry, it doesn't really matter whether it is indulgence or austerity. Moving in extremes is the problem. What is middle path? Middle path says it doesn't actually say what to do. It only says what you should not do. By saying what you should not do, you derive what you have to do. Again, I repeat. Middle path doesn't say what you should do. It only says what all you should not do. Okay, what all you should not do, you keep eliminating. Finally, you will end up in what? Knowing what to do. They say Buddha went into these extremes. 7 years, hard work he did. Nothing happened. He was so exhausted of all the practices. He was so tired. That day, in that place, under the Bodhi tree, he sat down. He just went and sat there. Huh? There are so many trees like that. He went and sat under the tree. There is no speciality in the tree and all. He just sat under the tree. Started reflecting. What is the reflection? In the palace, I was in extreme. Last 7 years, I was in the other extreme. Both are a simple play of ego. Both are a simple play of ego. That's all. And the austere ego is more dangerous than the indulgent ego. At least the indulgent ego will do something to get out. The austere ego says, I am right already, I am best already. So the austere ego, from one extreme is the indulgent ego, another extreme is the austerity ego. The ego of the bad person versus ego of the good person, isn't it? Middle path says, no ego. There is no, from bad ego to good ego, there is no difference because the ego is still the same. So what is middle path now? Middle path is avoiding the extremes. Punya punya vivarjita pantaha. The path that is distinct and different from these two. That is the middle path. It was there from time immemorial, it was there, this middle path. The way that Buddha spoke about it, wherever we talk about the middle path, we'll give a reference to Buddha. It was there even before him, it was there. Punya, punya, vivarjita pantha and all was there even before he came. But the way in which he was able to, the way in which he taught about it, he became, from Siddhartha the prince, he became Buddha the enlightened Gautama the Buddha. He was going around the world giving his message. Middle path is the message. So he was going around the world giving middle path as the message. And the middle path is a very necessary tool for the development of intellect to get over attachment. It has got nothing to do with liberation and all. It is a very, it's a very preparatory lifestyle discipline. That's why we will study middle path in the introductory textbooks. We will never study middle path in the Bhagavad Gita. We will never study middle path in the Upanishads. It is a very introductory lifestyle. What is that? Avoiding the extremes. So Buddha became enlightened. A lot of people started joining his Sangha. Sangha means Saturday Vedanta class. A lot of people started joining the Saturday Vedanta class, and more and more people come. The existing people get excited, isn't it? Yeah. Any new people come, the existing people get excited. Why? Oh, we are growing. What we are growing? Yeah. Shankar, don't get excited, huh? Because he is the number man. He only keeps counting the numbers. Who's coming? Who's not coming? Why this person is not coming? 3 classes this person didn't come. 6 months this person. All the data statistics he only has. And I have to sit and clarify all his statistics also. First of all, his statistic itself is madness, and there will be a question on that also now. So, Sangha means Saturday morning Vedanta class is the Sangha. Ram Subramaniam comes, Venkatachalam comes. Who's bothered? Aparna comes. Who bothers? Isn't it? Narendra Modi comes. How it will be? Yeah. Narendra Modi comes. At least MS Dhoni should come. Or at least a Talaivar should come. Yeah. A Talaivar joined the Sangha. A king joined the Sangha. And the moment the king joined the Sangha, everybody got excited. Because Buddha's knowledge is not the proof. The king is the proof now for Buddha. What a tragedy it is. Yeah. The king joining is the proof of Buddha's wisdom. This is how we think. No, what do we do? And Buddha told the king, okay, you be in the group, I'll meet you 6 months later, I'll meet you, he said. He didn't even give him appointment. 6 months later, we can meet. So wherever they go, the king also used to. After a few months, the king became the topic of discussion, the entire Sangha. The king was the topic of discussion. Why? Because he bet Gautam Buddha also in the austerities. If everybody ate 1 meal a day, he will eat once in 2 days. If everybody sits under the shade of the tree, he will go and sit under the sun. And everybody is like praising. And the news came to Buddha also. They said, oh, this king, previously if he was the best king, now he is the best. Now he is the best person in austerity. Same ego continuing. Are you able to follow? Nothing changed. Same ego continuing. So Buddha said, it's okay. He got so emaciated. He got so thin. He was about to die also. 6 months later, Buddha said, call him. And the king was very excited because he is getting an audience with Buddha now. Buddha said, I heard you are a very good Veena player. Can you play a song for me? I heard you are a very good Veena player. Where is Meera? I am getting scared now because he is also playing Veena now. And I have to sit and listen to that also now. Buddha said, I heard you are a very good Veena player, can you play a song for me? The king got super excited now because he thought he's going to ask Buddha something. Now Buddha is asking him in return. So he said, yes, I will play. So the Veena was brought. He started tuning the Veena. He said, wait, 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 play, he said. He said, wait, play. He said, no, how can I play? I said, what do you mean, how can you play? The strings are there. No, play. No, no. If it is too tight, you cannot play. If it is too loose, you cannot play. It should be neither too tight nor too loose. Then only I can play Veena. Who's giving a lecture to whom now? The king is giving the lecture to Buddha. The Buddha turned back and said, are you doing this? Are you doing this? If everybody is eating one meal a day, you eat once in 2 days. Just as good music will not come from the Veena where the strings are too tight or too loose, growth is not possible for the one who's moving in these extremes. This is the middle path. But the mind naturally tends to move to the extremes. The natural tendency of the mind is to move into these extremes. And moving from one extreme to the other extreme, the person believes that there is control. Actually, there is no control there. The very one extreme takes you to the other extreme. We have seen this example any number of times. In the old pendulum clock, when the pendulum is moving to the right, it's not only moving to the right, it is gathering enough momentum to come to the left. When it is coming to the left, it is gathering enough momentum to go to the right. This is the mind moving in. This is the human mind moving in extremes. Are you okay till now? In whatever extremity it goes, the mind will get attached there. It will get stuck there. So at one point of time, it will be attached to indulgences. At another point in time, it will be attached to austerities. At one point of time, it will be attached to badness. At another point of time, it will be attached to goodness. But nevertheless, it is moving from one extreme to the other extreme. Who can follow the middle path? The one who has understood the way in which the mind functions is the one who can follow middle path. A victim of mind cannot follow middle path. One who has understood how the mind is functioning is how you understand middle path. With this, we will move on to the first topic. Examine life. Examine life padinga.
Examine life. Life is defined as a series of experiences known in Sanskrit as Anubhavadhara. Experiences flowing one after another is life. When the flow stops, life is extinct. An experience, therefore, is a unit of life, just as a brick is a unit of a building. They, in effect, constitute your life. If they are happy, you're happy. Likewise, if they are unhappy, you're unhappy. As your experiences, so your life. Thus, if you wish to better your life, you must better them. An experience is constituted of two factors: you, individual, the subject, and world, the object. When there is a contact between the subject and object, between you and the world, there arises an experience. And the stream of experiences is life. Therefore, life equals you plus world. Hence, bettering life would mean bettering both its components, improving the individual and the world. If both are developed properly, one would be in heaven, live in perfect peace and bliss. If just one of the components is developed, one would go through bouts of pleasure and pain. And when both lack development, one goes through hell. Hell and heaven are therefore subjective, a mental phenomenon. They are not geographic places as popularly misconstrued. The world can be classified broadly under its three constituents, namely wealth, people, and nature. That gave rise to three sets of workers dedicated to improving the world for the betterment of humanity. Those who worked on material resources, who organized them for the benefit of the society at large, are known as the economists. The economists focused their attention and expertise on material well-being. Likewise, the second set of workers studied the peoples of the world and drew plans and programs to set up proper understanding and relationship amongst themselves. They are the politicians. The third category worked on nature. They also studied, investigated nature and drew intelligent conclusions from it. They are the scientists. Thus, these three, economists, politicians, and scientists, worked upon the world to make it a better place for comfort, peace, and happiness of human beings. The efforts of these well-meaning workers have been successful in building an impressive world, far greater than what the past generations lived in. The quality of the external world has no doubt gone through a phenomenal change for the better, but the quality of life has deteriorated alarmingly. People all over suffer from worry and anxiety, distress and depression, confrontation and chaos. The serious problem confronting humanity is the lopsided development of the object world at the cost of the subject individual. The individual suffers from a total lack of attention, development, while the world continues to be improved upon. It is much like piling up delicious food on the dining table for a person suffering from indigestion and nausea. The ancient rishis, the spiritual stalwarts of India, discovered this paradox in life and focused their attention on the correction of the individual. They found human beings have lost their appetite to live. Delving deeper into their constitution, they found their intellect neglected, left barren. These profound visionaries thus directed their expertise on building, strengthening the intellect of the individual. And they gave out to the people the philosophy of Vedanta to rehabilitate the intellect and thereby reconstitute the human being. Thus, they created a balance between the individual and the world to bring about excellence of life.
Now, what is he saying is there is a lack of middle path even at the macrocosmic level. One extreme, everything is moving on to one extreme, and the other side of it is neglected. The middle path at the lack of middle path at the macrocosmic level. Then we will come to lack of middle path in the microcosmic level. First is lack of middle path. What is lack of middle path here? When the whole attention is to make life better through betterment, happiness. Again, the whole effort is to make life better, and through betterment, it is happiness. So, the whole efforts of humanity is directed towards making life better. So, the vast majority of human effort is going towards making life better. Making life better means make everything available. If everything is available, if everything is there, life will be comfortable, happy. Because without all this, we were suffering. With this, the suffering should go. Three general words are used. Don't go into these three words seriously. Scientists, politicians, economists, and all. It's only saying a whole lot of people go through a dedicated, directed efforts to make the world better, with the hope that in the better world, everybody will be happy. Because there is no middle path in that, what is happening? So many changes are happening. Now, we don't know whether these changes are good or bad, we don't know. But definitely there are changes. And these changes appear to have made life better. Again, I repeat, compared to 100 years back, 150 years back, today there is a lot of changes. And these changes appear to make life better. Distinct and different from this approach is the Vedantic approach. What is the Vedantic approach? Pay attention to the individual, because at the end of the day, it is the individual that matters. Pay attention to the individual. But sir, we are paying attention to the individual. No. That's why we are sending them to schools and universities, making better amenities and facilities for the individual to be happy only. No. Individual to be known means delving deep into the individual nature. Taking individual as an entity and analyzing and going deep into the individual nature is what is meant as the visionaries of the ancient rishis, the spiritual stalwarts, etc. he's talking about. Why they are called stalwarts is because they had an intellect. And what is intellect? The capacity to see the end in the beginning. Since they are able to see the end in the beginning, they said certain things should not be done. So they kept a line. What happened in the last 300, 400 years? That line got erased. When we say that line got erased, it means what do we mean? Okay, a few examples I'll give. The Veda says, don't cut a tree. In the Vedic times, and they were all living in the forest, what was there? Only trees were there. Actually, they should have said cut a tree, isn't it? Because to get a small plot of cultivable land would have been so extremely difficult in that time. At that point of time, they said, don't cut a tree. It means what? They had some vision. That's why they are called spiritual stalwarts, and they are called rishis. Rishis means one who can see. They can see. What can they see? What can they see? We are also seeing, isn't it? We are also seeing. And we have telescopes and unconceivable telescopes. We have unconceivable microscopes. We are seeing through that. And what did they see? They saw the external world growth is necessary, but there has to be a line, and the individual growth is also important. They didn't say leave the world behind and do individual growth. This is important, and that is also. So there was a balance between the two. Nowadays, what has happened? The balance is lopsided. Lopsided to an extent where it is even impossible to convince that it is lopsided. So lopsided that to even understand that it is lopsided is becoming very, very difficult. Why do we call it as lopsided? The kings who ruled the world 200 years back, if he were to come alive today, he'll be very jealous of the gardener here. He'll be very jealous. Why? Because the gardener has better facilities than him, isn't it? If he has to send a message to his family, how he has to send? Through the pigeon only he has to send. God only knows whether the pigeon will go deliver the message and come back, isn't it? And he has to send through a messenger. And by the time the messenger goes, delivers, and come back, God only knows. Today, compared to the king, the facilities is much, much better. Obviously, the king will look at us and say, what? So the king will look at us, and what will the king tell us? Aparna, what a blessed world you are all living in. What a punya karma you all should have done to live in this blessed world now. How happy you all should be. How happy and blissful you all should be. What we will say in return? Srikanth, நம்ம பதிலுக்கு என்ன சொல்றோம்? You come and live here, you will know how that is better than. You come and live here, you will know how that is better than this. What is middle path here? A balance between development, betterment of the external, and the betterment of the individual. Middle path means maintaining a balance between the two. The ancient education system was a perfect balance of these two. That's why when the child goes to study in the Gurukula, they had 2 semesters. One semester is for Vedic knowledge, second semester is for some skill, betterment of life. So one semester for this knowledge and one semester for that. How do you know there are 2 semesters? Even today in the month of August, the Brahmins will do one ritual where they will change the sacred thread on that day. Even the fellows don't know how to say a mantra also will blabber something on that day, isn't it? That is the semester. That is the beginning of the Vedic semester. That will go on for 6 months. And then by mid-January, early February, that semester gets over. And then the other education will start. There was a perfect balance maintained. Middle path was followed. Because the middle path was followed, there was an overall betterment of the society. Today, what has happened is exactly the opposite. What is the opposite here? What is the opposite here? First gain material wealth, full stop. First gain material wealth and then invest it safely, keep it secured, and at least எவ்வளோ growth? 10% growth வரணுமா சங்கர்? எவ்வளோ % growth வரணும்? அவர் தான் கால்குலேஷன்லாம் போடுறாரு. 10x 10x, isn't it? They have so many people have those. Have you seen people wearing those badges? 10x. It means their goal is 10 times. First get that. Rest and all we'll see later. In that madness to get it, what do? You end up doing something. In that rush to get it, you end up doing something which is taking you to one extreme. And when you go to that extreme, definitely there is certain consequences to that. When you are faced with the consequences of that, you will go to the other extreme saying all this is useless. Again, I repeat. First, you will believe this is very important and you go to that extreme. After you get it, by the time you get it, you are old, isn't it? By the time you think you've gotten whatever you want minimum, you are, no, actually you don't think you have gotten enough. Society has decided you are redundant and they retire you, isn't it? Society says we don't want you anymore, you retire. So at that point of time, the person thinks, now what to do? After retirement, how to keep myself occupied, sir? Gardening you can do, isn't it? Part-time job you can do, consulting you can do, or all my experiences I want to write as a book. All my experiences. Vedanta class also, isn't it? This is not following the middle path from one extreme to the other extreme. So what is he saying in this topic? The rishis maintain the balance and they brought about an excellence to life. Because of them having brought about this excellence to life, there is an advantage. What is the advantage? It was better in terms of external and it was better in terms of internal. The violation of the middle path has caused what? The violation of the middle path has caused a highly changed external world. Correspondingly, the proportion of internal disturbance is also increasing. Again, I repeat. As the proportion of changes happen externally, the proportion of disturbances also happen internally. At least where they were able to live with 15, 20 people, today one human being is not able to accommodate another one human being. Too big a family, sir, husband and wife, isn't it? Too big a family. I can't handle such a big family. Then you ask, maybe you assume there are 50 people in the family, and then you ask how many? Husband and wife. That is because of the lopsided development. So middle path says, even in the external, at the totality level also, the human being has to maintain a balance. Losing the appetite to live. Losing the appetite to live means what? Not suicidal. Losing the appetite to live means there is nothing that is driving, motivating. The human being doesn't want to live and not dying also. What to do? What is that state called? That is having lost the appetite to live life. Why they lose the appetite to live life? The mind that is moving in extremes. The mind that is moving in extremes will necessarily result in this. Okay, sir, what is balance then? What is balance? To whatever extent your intellect is developed, to that extent, your intellect will say, what is balance? Okay, I want to avoid the extremities. Now, why can't the Shastras, why can't the book, why can't the class tell us exactly what to do and what not to do? Why can't they give it very clear and say, this is middle path? Why can't you give a list and say, this is middle path? That list cannot be given. Why? Because according to the strength of your intellect, everybody has to find their own middle path. But one thing everybody has to be aware of is avoiding extremes at their level. The king has to avoid extremes at their level. The minister has to avoid extremes at their level. The person at the lowest rung of the ladder has to avoid extremes at their level. But nevertheless, down the line, all human being has to follow the single formula of middle path. Because if you give a list, if there are 8 billion people, you can't make 8 billion list. Neither can you group them as 15, 20 and give a generalized list. Therefore, Vedanta only keeps saying, follow middle path, follow middle path, follow middle path. But what to do in that? By exercising your intellect, by strengthening your intellect, you will get to know it. You will get to know it. This is the first topic, the experiences. Life equals Anubhava Dhara. Dhara means a continuous flow without break. The Sanskrit word dhara means the flow of oil. When water is poured from one vessel to the other vessel versus when oil is poured from one vessel to the other vessel, there is a difference between the flow. The oil flow is called dhara. Life equals experiences. The quality of the experience determines the quality of your life. Life equals experiences. The quality of the experience determines the quality of your life. Experiences are good, life is good. Experiences are mediocre, life is mediocre. If experiences are bad, life is bad, isn't it? Therefore, per se, there is no such thing called life. There is only one thing called experiences, and that experience determines it. Experience means two, the subject and the object. So middle path says, pay attention to both. That's all he's saying. Pay attention to both. Invariably, what has happened? One is neglected and the other is paid extreme attention. Middle path means this. Very good food and you are also hungry. That is appetite to live life. Another is very good food and you are not at all hungry. Are you able to follow? Again, I repeat. Appetite to life. A good life means you are hungry. Also, there is good food. You are hungry, no food or bad food doesn't help. Very good food. The spread is so good in front of you. And you are having, that's the example he gives here. You are suffering from indigestion and nausea. Again, the food is not of any help to you. So it means what? There should be a hunger and there should be a good food. People say, as long as you have good food, that is enough. Just keep eating it. What people are saying is whether you get hungry or not is not the point. How to make the food better. So I'll give you the good food. They give you the good food. But the individual is screaming and saying, I am not hungry. Nobody is bothered about whether the individual is hungry or not. The food is good to know what is your problem. You're able to follow the fallacy in thinking? The food is good. What is your problem? Did they have so much in the past? They didn't have so much. You go here and ask for a cup of tea. They give you half a liter of tea. How can you drink half a liter of tea and they are sitting and drinking also? One masala dosa you order, it is like that. That entire table, one masala dosa. Now 4 people can eat and still something is left behind. Yeah. So you Namburla masala dosa, you have to search for masala, isn't it? It will be dosa and you have to search for masala. Here masala dosa, 80% of the dosa is so much of masala. Looking at that only you are full. No appetite at all. So this is the lopsided world. What is the lopsided world? It is there, no. Eat it. Enjoy it. The individual is saying, I am not having an appetite. My appetite is killed. Vedanta comes and says, the individual has to get the appetite back. And the way to get the appetite back is by strengthening the intellect. That's how it is connected. Otherwise, the lopsided world means this. Chennai is very hot. Chennai is very hot. Actually, Chennai is not at all hot, isn't it? Air-conditioned room, air-conditioned car, everything is air-conditioned. Where is heat? Unless you step out, and nobody is stepping out only. Where is the heat? So in that better world, the individual has to be the individual has to be more happy, isn't it? In the desert, they sell blankets of this thickness, no? The Middle East, it's a desert, it is so hot, and they sell blankets of this size because there is no shivering. Even though outside they say this much, that much, and all, where inside you are shivering in cold. It means that should have made life better. That should have made life better. Sadly, what is happening? that didn't make life better. Why? Because please understand, the problem is not because of the world has become better, human problems are increased. Don't make that comparison. If that is the actual comparison, then problem is very easy. Everybody should go back to bullock carts. Everybody, all the problems will get sorted out. You follow? All the problems is because of this growth only. Therefore, cut the growth. Every generation keeps talking about it, isn't it? You know, who are the first set of passengers to go in the train? The train was discovered, and the passengers are required to go. You know that? No. Passengers are required to go. Who's the first set of passengers that went in the train? Does anybody know? Historically, it is true. Therima Ram Subramaniam. You don't know. I thought you were an encyclopedia. Everything you know. Hmm. Prasad, you know? 15 death convicts. Because nobody wanted to take it. Nobody wants to get into the train. Who knows whether it will stop or not? Because no, they have not seen anything like that. And it looks like a monster. So what did they do? But then they have to experiment with somebody. You know what they did? Took up 15 fellows. Anyway, they are going to die, put them in the train and sent. Thank God the train stopped, isn't it? So any invention is not the problem for discomfort. The problem is neglecting one is the problem. Please understand it carefully. Otherwise, if you don't understand this carefully, we'll go back saying all the problem is because of. Nowadays, sir, the real problem is artificial intelligence, isn't it? Because it will take away human intelligence. How can it take away human? It cannot take away human intelligence. Because switch it off, it goes, isn't it? There is no consciousness in it. Human being has conscious. How can something mechanical overpower human being at any point of time? It cannot. Oh, but society is going to go bad. So because this is going to come. Vedanta is not talking that language. You follow what I'm saying? When he says middle path, we are not talking that language of saying that is the cause. What is the cause for the individual suffering? An imbalance. Don't say scientific development is the cause. That is not being said. Scientific development is not the cause. The imbalance. What is the imbalance? Thinking that everything is all right with the individual, nothing has to be done there. Make everything available to the individual will be happy. That thinking is wrong. Middle path says balance. Are you able to follow the difference now? Otherwise, the whole discussion will look like, oh my God, we all should go back to bullock carts. Even bullock carts, what a great scientific discovery at that point of time. Isn't it? At that point of time, William bullock cart would have been one of the, maybe that fellow would have been given a Nobel Prize for that, for discovering the bullock cart. Because it is a very big invention. One fellow sat on the horse and rode, isn't it? Till date, we are all sitting and driving everything. Correct? Everything is sat. We can drive only because you have to sit on something. Oh, and that fellow discovered this, to sit on horse. What a great scientific invention it is at that point of time. It is. So we are not talking about scientific inventions as the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem is an imbalance. What is the imbalance? The individual is neglected and something is being promoted. Therefore, the middle path at the macrocosmic level says, as you are paying attention to that, attention should be paid to this also. That is why, sir, the universities will invite, come and talk for 1 hour and talk and teach this. 1 hour session. 1 hour we can give you, sir. In 1 hour, what can you do? By the time you know everybody's name, 1 hour is over. What can you talk? The balance was beautifully done in this country. 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. That is the balance, where everybody had an intellect and everybody had a skill also. Are you able to understand the middle path of the society? Everybody had this knowledge and everybody had a specific skill also. So everybody used their specific skill for the betterment of the world, and that individual using the specific skill had an intellect. That is betterment of life. They created a balance. That's why he says these ancient rishis, the spiritual stalwarts of India, thus created a balance. It's not that all of them were only taught Tattvamasi, I am Atma, Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. And it's not the whole world was full of enlightened people. Nothing like that. Even then, enlightenment was very difficult. Moksha was still as difficult as it was today. But the difference is at the individual level, it is not as bad as it is today. Why? Because the middle path is not followed. What is middle path not being followed? One education is given to the extreme, while the other is neglected completely. Therefore, the object is taken care of, the subject is neglected, ignored. In this scenario, what happens to the quality of life? Very bad. 200 years back, the king ruled the planet, also has to go on a horseback, no? Imagine the king also going on a horseback. His back is broken, the soldier's back is broken. And when the king comes and tells us what a blessed life you are having, what we will tell the king in return? We are thinking that life is better. And that king thought this life is better. The king will come and say, even Swarga is not having the facilities like what we are having today, isn't it? I don't know, Swarga and artificial intelligence, chat GPT, at least the stories is not talking about all that. Here we are having everything we are having. And yet, the individual is not able to enjoy any of that. So, middle path is a technique of making you mentally capable of enjoying what you have. Otherwise, you have and you don't enjoy. So, one kind of suffering is having and suffering. Another kind of suffering is not having and suffering. Having and suffering is better, no, sir. Huh? Having and suffering is better, no. That's what we are going to analyze in the next topics. In the next topics, we are going to analyze which suffering is better, having and suffering or not having and suffering. Having and suffering is a very big problem. Acquisition, preservation, and making sure that nobody comes and takes over. Is this miserable or that miserable? Vedanta says you should have it. Everybody must be doing the right action and they should have it, but not be dependent on it is the middle path. Middle path doesn't say don't have it. Middle path says have it and not be dependent on it is the middle path. Are you able to understand what is middle path now? It's not saying don't have it. Because not having it is one kind of suffering. Having it is another kind of suffering. Then what is the middle path then? You have it, but don't be dependent on it. You have it, but don't be dependent on it is the middle path. That is the ancient rishis' vision. The spiritual stalwarts of India is saying. Not having it is one extreme. Having it and getting attached is another extreme. Are you able to follow now the formula? Not having is one extreme. Having and getting attached to it is another extreme. What is middle path now? Don't move in extremes. It means what? You should have it is one. That is very clear. And what is the other? Not be dependent. So what is middle path? Middle path is a beautiful combination of having everything and not being dependent on anything. That's why I started by saying middle path is not an easy path. Middle path is not an easy path because to have it and not be dependent, you need lot of knowledge and understanding. That's what we are trying. The topic, examine life. So we have examined life. So out of this examination, what did we conclude? Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan. Mundakopanishad says. Mundakopanishad says you need a wise person to do this pariksha. Pariksha means examination, isn't it? That's why the topic is examine life. Pariksha Lokan. Mundakopanishad says examine the world. Examine the world. Upon examination, you come to certain understanding. And then we will be elaborating middle path into various aspects. Today the formula is given. What is the formula of middle path? Having it and not being dependent on it. To have it, carefully follow. To have it, scientist is required, economist is required, politician is required to have it. And not to be dependent on it, Vedanta is required, knowledge is required. Are you able to follow now? Puridappa? Vijay? Purida, the middle path. To have it, this set of people are required. Because without these three, how can you have it? Because it is their field of expertise, it is their specialization, they are only qualified to do that. So, yes, to have it, they are required. Okay. But then the moment you get it, you start getting, you get attached to it and a different suffering starts. So in order to avoid that, what is required? Vedanta is required. So what is middle path? A balance of these two. Have it and not be dependent on it. Have it and not be attached to it is the middle path. Seriya? With this, we conclude for today. We continue with the topic action and peace next week.